Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the council meeting tonight. With some people in the gallery, it's nice to see some faces. And welcome on Zoom there, Melanie, Councilor Cannon.
Good evening.
Let's start out with the land acknowledgement. We'll begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathered on the land that has been inhabited by Indigenous people since the time immemorial. We would like to recognize that we are in the Robertson Superior Treaty territory, and the land on which we are gathered today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. Specifically, we acknowledge the neighboring community of Mishkot First Nation, to whom we have great respect. We also recognize the contributions of all Indigenous peoples, including the Métis, in shaping and strengthening the community and the province of Ontario. Okay, we'll go for anybody disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll continue. Approval agenda, can I get a mover? Councilor Chiasson. No delegation presentations tonight. Adoption of minutes for the corporate planning meeting Tuesday, August 16th. Can you get a mover? Councilor Hatfield. Okay, we'll go right into business arising out of the previous meeting. We have the refuge collection contract extension. Were you going to talk to that?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, Becca is doing another project for the municipality at this time, so could not be present. Staff had provided council a report with a recommendation to renew the refuge collection contract with Provo for 2 years. And at that meeting, council asked for additional information, and Rebecca is responding to what we understood council was looking for more information about. So number one, just some history on the past contract prices. In 2017, 2018, Provo provided monthly collection at a rate of almost $20,000 a month. In 2018, at the end of 2018, that collection contract was increased by 40% to $28,000. So roughly $8,000 more a month, about $96,000 more a year. And the rationale behind that request was a number of factors, from increasing costs for insurance, their operating costs, equipment replacement, but also that they had to supply for health and safety reasons 2 people per truck. So it was also for additional man hours. The municipality then issued a request for proposals in 2019 for a 3-year contract, which ends this October. And in that contract, we asked for a price to extend the contract for an additional 2 years, for a price to be provided that council and the contractor could agree to if they desired. So the chart following is what the charges for the contract were over the 5-year period. So we completed the 2021-22 contract, and now we're talking about extending from November 1st, 22-23, 23-24. And those prices were budgeted in the original price proposal at a assumed inflation rate of 2%. So it was just the flat 2% added on to the prices. In 2019, the price went up about 7%. And then we discussed with Provo extending the 2-year contract, which they said they could not do at the fee structure they proposed in 2019. So there were some negotiations that happened between Provo and municipal staff. And Provo agreed to a monthly increase of another roughly $5,500 per month for year 4, with another 2% increase in 23-24, which would bring us from about, so just to give you a total, that would be 300, and we were paying $296,000 up until the end of October this year. Then it will go to 368,000, and in year 5, 376,000. Please note that that share total I'm sharing with council does include the charges for Hawk Junction, which get charged back to Hawk Junction. So approximately the year 4, about 53,000 of the total gets charged back to Hawk, meaning the municipality's total is about 368,000. That's just some background. Council had asked for a history of the increases to the prices, and that's a summary. The question number 2 is the municipality being charged for covering additional refuge collection requirements from our commercial and other institutions? This was a matter that council reviewed since 2018. The response to that is the current refuge collection contract is based on time. So number of hours, not on number of collections per commercial or institutional industrial use. They're based on their vehicle GPS data, so they keep track of how many hours that they spend, and then they do not break that down by user. So municipal staff have been reviewing the existing refuge collection bylaw with a view to try to add more fairness into the system by possibly recommending council in the future when our new landfill site has been constructed and we're able to clarify and correct a number of issues, that we will propose to council changes to how we go about charging the users and look at the collection system. So some of those changes that we're reviewing right now include a variety of options that we will have once the new landfill is completed construction, because we do have areas set aside for possible recycling. So how do we adapt possible recycling into the system? Maybe we look at what other municipalities have done many years ago and go to a bag and tag system. So instead of, as an example, you can have up to 5 bags per week. Maybe we're going to provide 1 or 2 bags, and then we pay $2 for an extra tag per week. Other municipalities like Sudbury have gone down to collection being only once every 2 weeks, because they do provide weekly recycling collection. So there are a number of options to talk about, and staff are reviewing, and we're going to look at our collection fee structure based on user type and additional waste collection versus hours in the future. Is there an exit clause if the refuge collection contract is extended? There is an exit clause in the original contract. That's pretty standard, 30, 60 day, either party can end. But Provo has indicated, as they reduce their original proposal for this 4th year by a substantial amount, provided council would enter into a 2-year agreement versus a 1-year. So in response, there is no exit clause unless there's a negligence on the part of the contract or there's some unforeseen circumstance. But the proposal is that Provo would request a guarantee for the next 2 years of garbage collection to provide the cost proposal that it is setting out. So I believe those were the questions, and I'm here to try to answer any other questions council may have.
Any questions?
Maury, I would like to, if anybody in the room is listening to it, we have looked into the other one, the Marathon and Managed Lodge, remember the green truck, and that is a phenomenal one, at almost twice as much as we're doing now. But I just wanted the people to know that we did look into.
Yeah, to clarify, I believe what you're sharing with the public is that when we did the 2019 refuse collection tender, we also included an additional addendum that said if recycling were offered in Wawa and we set out paper, glass, what would be the additional charges? Now that would include a new type of vehicle a contractor would have to have. We'd have to arrange for the blue box, green box system. Quote was provided additional $800,000 at that time to provide that kind of service. So it definitely is going to be expensive to look at recycling. But staff had recommended we not look at recycling until we had a proper landfill that we could bring the materials to, where they might be sorted and stored. And again, we'll look at that in the future. That was considered by council back then and was put on hold.
Any other questions?
That one here. In the past, we see the garbage collection increase. Can't we lock something in here, price, that they can come to us in the middle of the year and say, we want more money? Is there such a,
Well, you can lock, the original contract with Provo was locked for 3 years.
okay,
This will be locked if council agrees for 2. Contractors are a little reluctant to extend something in writing non-negotiable for any longer than 2-3 years, just because of things like cost of living increases or changes in legislation. So, you know, we tried with our last tender, council accepted, you know, a 3-year contract, 2-year extension. But the circumstances changed a lot. So I'm not sure, Councillor Chisel, how a municipality could do that, especially municipality like Wawa, where there are very few contractors willing to deliver refuge collection services in our community.
so you're saying with the new facilities, we could probably gain some money here or gain a little bit ahead? Once that new land comes available?
I'm not sure that we would gain money, but I think the options will be open for the municipality to look at other collection delivery methods, which would include the municipality looking at whether the municipality should bring back collection services into its own area of responsibility. Look at other contractors that specialize in recycling. Maybe the door will open for other contracts to bid. So I think staff's recommendation for extending contract with Provo for 2 years will give the municipality the time it needs to finish the landfill, which we hope will be done in 2023, and look at the other options for the community.
The recycling is going to come eventually. Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay. Yeah, so, you know, bottom line is we went into a 2-year agreement with our staff being able to have time to look at the future landfill, future recycling, all that stuff, which should be ample time for. Okay, any other questions then? Okay, that's what come up in that.
Mayor, there will be a supporting resolution of council on the regular meeting tonight. And then staff will work with Provo to do a new contract or contract amended by bylaw at the September 20th.
Okay. Move on to CEO report to 24 waiver of facility fees, revised waiver of facility fees policy.
Yes, and I apologize if it appeared confusing to council, but this item is from a previous meeting. I believe I can't open my meeting yet, but I think the date on my report was about May. We brought this report to council recommending a new fee waiver policy. It was basically taking the previous policy and just updating it with some recommendations for council. At that meeting, council wanted more time to review the proposed policy. There wasn't a general consensus on the items contained within the policy. One item of concern council mentioned was the the ability for the municipalities to support requests for local groups to have waivers of fee, with a change in past practice, which would be that the reason that we were looking at this policy was at the request of the mayor to make it more efficient, to add consistency to council's and staff's decisions about requests, and to lessen the administrative matters coming to council, as we saw every year, the same requesters coming to council for the waiver. So it was to streamline operations, not only just for council meetings, but also to put out set criteria that council would be comfortable with, that staff would administer when applying a new fee waiver policy for requests. So having said that, we are talking about the waiver of fees policy, and I just attached my former report and my former policy, which was added this morning for council to discuss and provide input to. But the second matter on bar sales and donations is not related to the fee waiver. They are not two of the same items. They are separate items to be talked about, Alex, under new business. So I can go through everything again here.
Go ahead, Counselor.
Lori, I have no problem staff deciding, waiver fees and everything, as long as they report it to us when you've done it for who, because I think we should stay on top of who's getting it. Like I've always decided that, seniors could have it free, we always know that, but just as long as it's in this report, happy with that.
Thank you. And I believe, although I can't see it right now, there was a requirement that staff would report to council, but we absolutely would, and Alex would include that in his monthly or bi-monthly reports. But I can make sure that's added into policy.
Any other questions? No, I think this simplifies it and makes it fair across the board, and not having these come to council continually, because there's a checkbox, fill it in, you get it. And if there's a certain circumstance, then it comes to council. I guess over to 1,500.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything unusual, not the norm, the waiver fee would come to council through Alex request.
Okay, let's move on to new business. Yeah, Alex, looks like there's all APs here. We'll start out with number 7.1, the bar sales and donations.
Okay, so this one was part of a little bit of a confusion. We started talking about this as a staff when council had asked us about the effects of the ice fishing derby on fee waiver. And so as a line item in my bar summary for the ice fishing derby reconciliation, we provided municipal donation. And so Maury had asked me, hey, what's the deal with that? What's that about? We had a discussion about how these municipal donations have been done in the past. As well as how there's not a council policy or anything we have on record about what those municipal donations need. So we typically budget around $5,000 a year. We're sent out a memo. We spend around $3,800 in 2019, if I remember getting up correctly, on those municipal donations. And essentially, it's just giving some money back to a couple specific organizations, but not all of them across the board for basically the bar. So it's one of those ways that we can really easily get rid of some expenses that we as staff don't feel are necessary to have, as well as treat everybody across the board a lot more consistently. Because, if you're not one of the couple established organizations, you don't get this municipal donation. So it's a way for us to just be consistent in our operations, as well as kind of close a loophole that didn't really have a policy and didn't really exist in a formal way before. So it will have some effects on users, because obviously there's some users who get between $2,000 and $1,000 a year off of this. Those effects we feel are not massive, but some people may feel that, so that's kind of up to them.
Any questions?
Alex, I gotta understand this. The ladies curling club, because I was president when they were. When the money came, you gave us some farmland. It really helps get ready for the following year. Helps us buy prizes in the sunshine. Now, are the ladies still gonna get that?
No, we're saying nobody can get it.
That I don't agree.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councilor Mel, Elon.
Thank you, Mayor Tate. Thank you very much, Alex, for the.
We can't hear you, Melanie.
Oh, can you hear me now? No,
No.
She's not on.
I'm not on mute. How about now?
Oh, you got it. Yeah, you have
Should be good.
to. Oh, no. I don't think, we just have it turned off the speaker. You have to have it on, so it probably wasn't. Okay, can you try now, Melanie?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. So thank you very much, Alex, for the additional information. And thank you to Maury for emailing me a really detailed explanation. I was really confused about how the memo was originally written. Because like you've said in your explanation, I'm really concerned and just want to make sure that all user groups are treated, that we apply the same theory for the way we handle donations and fee waivers. So I'm totally on board, and certainly anybody wishing to receive a donation to whether it's the curling club or the hockey or old timers or whoever the group is, they can certainly apply through the to the revised policy for waiver of facility fees. And that policy will certainly take care of this. Thank you for detailing the amount, because I want to make sure that we support all groups. And if there's a perception that we favor one group over another, this is going to be the forum that we can erase that perception. So that's really important to me. My last comment, I don't want to drag this out too long, is I want to ensure that we send proper notification to the groups that have benefited from this past practice, not past policy, that we will not be, moving forward, that we won't be continuing this practice. So nobody's surprised when their event comes up and they won't be benefiting from this 25 cents on the dollar that they've, benefited from for the last 25 years, or historical benefit. So I think that's really important.
Thank you. Any other comments? Oh, Councillor Cannon?
I just wanted to ask, Alex, if they're paying fees to use the building, but you are taking care of the bar and no longer giving donations back, are you going to give them a discount in the fees that they have to pay, seeing how you're using part of the arena also?
No, there's no plans to change the schedule of fees as a result of this.
Okay.
Alex, I'm still a bit disappointed on this, but now everybody seems to understand something I don't. Explain to me why you can't give the 25 cents on it.
Well, I think the first reason is we're continually looking at ways to increase revenue at the community center to offset the increase in expenses. So everything from electricity to fuel to electricity, fuel to staffing costs, all of those expenses continue to go up. And while we have increased some user fees, there's more ways for us to generate revenue. So part of this is to make sure that the revenue we're generating stays with us, it's lost. So I think that would be a big thing. And then the second one would be to make sure that we're treating these groups equally. So this is something that we mostly to do with the curling clubs and then a little bit to do with the ice fishing group, but most organizations haven't taken advantage of this. It isn't, it's a practice, but it's not something that we have in policy. So I don't actually have any direction from the council to do this. I've just kind of been doing it because it's been done for years, right? So really it's up to council. If council would like to see a donation policy, then they're welcome to direct staff to create one that treats people equally. We've been working on the waiver of fees policy with essentially the same goal in mind, to make sure that we're treating these equally, as well as to make sure that we're safeguarding some of that revenue and trying to generate more revenue so that to offset those expenses. So those would be the two main.
Now, when is registration for most of the everything, like curling and hockey?
Curling usually happens after Thanksgiving.
After Thanksgiving. Well, you're going to get a letter to them before.
I mean, I can get a letter to them tomorrow, honestly.
I'm not really happy with it because I can't tell you. Everybody looks forward to that one to spice the bond scale up so we could get teams from out of town and do it. Okay, I'm going to have to think about that.
I will make one note if it helps in the schedule of fees, how we set it up. There is a reduced rate for the bonds deals relative to the normal curling rate, just like there is for tournaments and things like that. To encourage users to have the big events.
That was never there before?
No, I want to say 2015, we changed that.
Last year.
2015, 2017.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Alex, in the past, we had different halls out there, back there, the hotel, Legion and Legion Hall. And we ran ours. And I remember with my, is bowling banquets. We used to in there, we make money on it. Next year, then you guys came over your hall and instead of charging 75% of the table. We didn't mind that. But look in the past, hotel is finished. We know how it's done. Is that policy yet shutting down other places to get more? We will get anything back to the people that's using it.
If I may, Councillor Chase, I'll respond. Compared to the past, liquor license regulations and laws have changed. So even the Legion cannot provide people the opportunity to rent under their liquor license and maintain all revenues. So we have to follow legislation as much as we would like to have groups rent the facility and run the bar themselves. Our liquor license doesn't allow that. So risks have changed around that. And that's all I could say.
Yeah, that changed around the time that I started full time. So around 2016, we were advised by the liquor inspector that any infractions were related to address. So we used to be able to do special occasion permits with people. We used to be able to run their own bar and things like that. Now, if they were to get a special occasion permit and then have any type of issue related to that permit, that would come back on us as the municipality. So that has a risk of us losing about $60,000 to $70,000 a year of revenue on an average pre-COVID year, and that was a risk that we were willing to take to have one-off events with people with untrained staff show up to do that. So we essentially enshrined in our practices at the community center that any bar that's run out of that address, because of the way the liquor inspectors take care of infractions, has to be an hour. So that doesn't prevent anybody anywhere in the rest of the community from operating anything else. It's just related to our specific liquor license, which is at our facility.
Thanks for clearing that. But you're still, all is still to be available for weddings, special occasions.
100%, yeah, we really encourage.
We deal with those people when.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions? Just gonna come up for support and, oh, sorry, no, I can see, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mayor Tate. The one last thing I want to mention, and I'll mention it in the, whatever the, item number 7.4 for the waiver policy for the arena ice is, I understand that the rationale to opening the arena and incurring a cost for that event was to bring in out of town hockey teams that contribute to the local economy, and the economic development spin-off would be the rationale for that. But I also want to note that all of the events that are benefiting from this drink policy also bring huge, enormous economic development spin-offs that I think would far shadow youth hockey tournaments. So I think that's something for council to consider as well. So that's why I really, really want for us to understand what is our rationale. Why are we choosing why is the recommendation to approve one and not the other? And I'm just not really comfortable with two differing recommendations on approving waivers.
Okay. We'll move on to that one there. I know you come from council, you're trying to weigh one out against the other, right? And we come up with this word of fairness and trying to get it level across the board is where we're trying to go. And it does look kind of different in the same night. I have one problem out, we're creating another problem with another new business, but let's roll through that and we'll see where it comes out.
And if I may, Mayor, just for clarification for staff and maybe council as well. On the item business arising, the waiver of facility fees at 6.2. We did not put any approving resolution on tonight's regular meeting because we didn't know what council's direction was going to be. But if council wants to maybe by you're asking for direction tonight, if we are going to send out a letter to any of the user groups affected by the waiver of fees, council can, issue direction verbally at the corporate meeting if you want this to go forward, or it's scheduled to come to the next regular meeting on the 20th for a decision. Same with the bar sales, if this is clear. If we don't have some general direction from council, tonight we can't advise the user groups. We put it on the corporate, so it gives a couple of weeks for council to get feedback. We get feedback from, users. So there is no approving resolutions on the regular. These are for consideration and referring to the 20th. But just to note that we can't advise anyone until after the 20th if council wants to wait until then. So I'm just looking for clarity on direction.
Yeah, because I look at these two items, really different. 7.1, they can already apply for a discount to have they already get a discount to have say a pretty must be. And then on top of that, you're going to get discount for the bar. But on the other hand, the municipality holds the liquor license, plus I guess you hire the fee as well, right?
Depending on the event.
Okay, depending on the event. So in order for us to run a business at a bar, you got to hire people for us too. So everybody in the playing field has to realize that it's not about just one person as well, it's about the municipality. So I think that's something to think.
I like the idea of going to the next meeting. So we get most of that information now that we can take back with us and come up with something concrete to be the rest of the
Alex, because doesn't matter more around. How much are the fees to go?
1 second. Off the top of my head, no, I'm not going to say off the top of my head. Give me a second.
No, because I do know what other towns are paying.
Yes, and we researched other towns and did comparisons, and I also have that for you in a minute. Because that is an important consideration for council to look at communities similar in our size, but you also have to compare apples to apples. You have to also compare costs. Other communities' costs to operate their community center tend to be much lower. They have lower staff levels. Sometimes the curling rink isn't attached to the community center arena. But having said that, we don't have an exact figure for council, but I think it's really important to point out that when we did a rough calculation in 2019, it cost the municipality approximately, to our best estimation, $500 an hour to operate the facility. We are only charging our users based on current user fees, 10% of that cost. So the taxpayers as a whole are subsidizing that 90%. The users are only paying approximately 10% of the costs we are incurring to operate. And I think the goal here is to again add fairness to a system, because we know those costs have increased and will continue to increase substantially over the next 1 or 2 years, while our asset and capital costs are continuing to increase, and money has to be raised, put back into the arena to sustain the level of services and recreational services. So, Alex, do you have those figures?
Yeah, so it's $70 a sheet for a regular night. It's a little bit confusing because it's put in as per person for a Bontsfield, but with 8 people curling on a sheet, it's $6 a sheet for a Bontsfield, so it's about a $10.
I'm talking, Alex, what does it cost to curl for the year?
That's up to the curling. Because
They
the curling
said-
club
Do
has.
you have any idea how much it costs?
Sorry, can I ask it? I want to say 300 and change,
Something like that.
something like 300 and change.
Well, that would be, one night would be, I think, 165, and then 2 nights is 200, depends if you're a senior, say
They're
260.
very low.
There's a curling club I know, because I know who runs it. The fees went up to $800 per person to curl. So when you do the letter, if we all agree on it, I don't know, I'd love to see what other rates. I think we're way too low. Just a thought.
Okay.
So we'll bring the resolution, oh, sorry.
Hang on, Counselor, go ahead, Counselor.
Thank you. So I think where I'm really going is I understand Maury's point. It's all about earning additional revenues because we can't necessarily lower our expenses for the marina or for the arena. I understand that. However, I think if we're going to do that for our local clubs, I think we should also look at that for our requests like approving out-of-town hockey tournaments. We've already extended one at the end of last year's season, which was, going into summer. We're going to do it where the request has come again at the fall. So I assume that these requests come often and we can expect them more and more. And these requests come at a cost. So if we're looking at reducing our costs, then we should consider that as well. And as Maury said, our taxpayers are subsidizing this. So if we're going to do it, if we're going to approve it in the name of economic development, then we should extend that same methodology to the bar sales, because that is also economic development. So it sounds like we're going to table this request until next week, but no?
Wasn't planning on it, but if you want, we can. You want more discussion on it? Councilors? I don't think we would.
You plan on September 20th?
Yes, I don't know, what more information we can provide, but certainly if council has specific questions, they can contact Alex or myself. Just due to timing with curling starting and hockey starting, to delay past September 20th would not be my recommendation for council. The resolutions could be forwarded on the 20th agenda. Council vote yay or nay and the decision made, but is there something specific that we could respond to as staff?
You have any?
The only thing I would like to say to Alex and the letter is we, normally, the rest of the group, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I look at it, but I don't understand.
Well, we haven't raised the fees for 15 years. We just started in the last couple of years trying to get it up a little bit. And I don't think we can hammer the fees with a 500% increase all in one day, so.
No,
So it's gotta kind of balance it out. I think we've got the normal increases going on.
So just as a technicality, we need to understand the direction. So right now, we're doing something that's past practice that no policy documentation, whatever. So just so we're all clear, if council would like to see a donation policy, then we're gonna.
There is a donation
Right.
policy, so we'll have to review it.
Okay, sorry, there we go. But right now, if you,
You just continue the practice you're doing.
My take is we don't give money on. We have the bar, we have the responsibility. We have people cleaning the tables, cleaning the floor after. We have all the work that goes with the bar. And they're already getting a bargain price to have their lunch to. So I think, personally, it wasn't a policy, it just was a nice thing to have. I think it's time to do it.
Well, council could request an addenda to the regular meeting tonight to add on or a motion, a resolution. Okay, would you want to poll?
What do we do? Is it coming up next?
If Mayor, if you want to poll council, we can stop the practice effective immediately if council would verbally give us direction.
I'd like to pull council, we can move forward, I guess. Is that all right with you, councilors?
I'm happy.
I just want to make sure the letter that's going to us
Yes.
really specifies we have to do this to be on top of the expenses. And please, I don't know how to word it,
Yes.
but please just word it back. You're still paying a phenomenally low price to curl. Like, that's not the word. but-
Yes, I will make sure the letter reflects that council's looking at the community as a whole, looking at the facility for the long-term sustainability, that the decision of council is not one that it makes lightly without consideration for the impact on organizations. But as Councillor Pino pointed out, for really fairness, to make sure there's fairness, that all user groups are treated fairly, this practice we'll see. So I will make sure that the word reflects what council said here today.
Okay.
20th.
That'll come up in the council meeting.
Poll now. Mayor, and-
Okay, we'll go for, who's in favor of, doing this, dropping this, donation to, the clubs.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, okay, there's your,
I am too.
there's your direction.
Okay,
Thanks.
we will solidify and verify council's direction by a resolution going to the September 20th meeting. This is an unofficial poll of council just for the purpose of giving staff direction to send the letter to the user groups. Once the user groups get those letters, they can certainly approach council before the 20th. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on. 7.2. Memo to paint Broadway Avenue.
this was a lot easier. 96 Broadway, there's a really nice long brick wall right at the front of the building as you're facing it, basically standing on 101. We were approached by a group of artists who also run a TV show who were interested in engaging local youth to create a mural about our community for our community by our community. They asked the municipality if we had any walls available of a particular type and texture. We talked really quickly with the staff and decided that the best, most visible wall that's also in the municipal inventory is at 96 Broadway. So we're bringing it to council as a, hey, is everybody okay with this? That's about it.
Any questions?
I got one. Just for the sake of being doing things right, do we have a policy on murals on public property?
No,
That's.
not that I'm aware of any ways that we have a policy of that type. I've never received a request like this before.
Won't affect our resale value?
No, these murals, are they permanent? Sorry,
It's paint.
Mayor.
Yeah, there's paint on the wall. So
What
you
is-
can always paint it for
What are they painting?
that is mostly up to the units that they're engaging with. But they've done several murals in the past. I did some research and they're not,
Well, you're not gonna see the mural before they put it on?
no. But they've done a really good job in a couple of examples that I've seen and very much like a better.
Yes.
So
When do they plan on doing this?
they planned in October.
Let's hope you're I don't, well, Keepers, you got some tough questions to me. I looked at your presentation and I went in and seen some of your work. Some I didn't like and some I liked. I'm not sure how I feel about that. How does everybody else feel?
Well,
This is a good idea.
I'd like to know what they're painting.
Yeah.
Person. You know, I mean, I looked at it too and I go, okay,
They typically come up with the ideas with the youth that they're going to help participate in it, like it's very like community driven projects. So they don't have, like, I couldn't tell you today what they were painting because they don't know today. Because they have just started, like schools just did, and just started to put this out in the schools and stuff, so I'm not really sure how to answer the question, fortunately.
I didn't notice paintings. I'm sorry.
but
I didn't notice the paintings. Where the recent ones where they were like, is there somewhere online where I could see the recent ones? Are they all like, I didn't see any dates or anything on town.
I don't think they've been doing this for a long amount of time, just the last couple of years. So I think that everything that was in that is in the video about this is or close enough to what they're doing.
The only concern I was ahead with the public property is that if the mural goes on the wall, and the town will like it, you have to get rid of it, all at once. And that's why I was asking if there's a policy or getting doing murals on public properties. But something in the back of my head and I'm just bring it up.
Not that I'm aware of, it causes a huge issue in council, we want to repaint it, then all the things that. That's helpful.
You really feel confident that they'll do it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, art is the eye of the beholder, I guess, so that's.
you know, it looked kind of spiffy right there too. When you drive up on 101. That's the first thing to see.
And for us as staff, it was the most public place that was in front of the community, that it would be visible, but also not, because we also discussed this as well. With some future renovations required, and you hate to put something up, like a year later, get some funding together to be able to. So 96 Broadway was kind of the best option. But in where we had that was also forward facing.
So you're gonna paint it if you don't like it?
I say, go for it. Oh, go ahead there, Counselor.
I've seen a piece on the news that had this company and their pieces are beautiful. Like they do a really good job.
Oh, that's good to hear.
It's good to know.
It's not like it's going to be something that everybody's going to like it. Like if you like art, that's what it is. And they involve the youth also.
Yeah, that's.
Do they not, Alex? And that's perfect.
Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Counselor.
You're like you, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I was concerned about resale, and so I just want to understand, is 96 Broadway currently for sale? Are we looking to dispose of that asset? Are we going to put a mural on a building that we're going to sell and then somebody's going to paint over it?
Responsibility.
It's a brick wall doesn't look as nice when it's freshly painted because a purchaser doesn't like it. So if it is an asset that we're looking to dispose of, I don't think we should put a mural on it. I love the idea of murals in our town of beautification, but if it's an asset we're looking to sell, I don't think we should proceed.
I think it's on the list, but I don't think it's in the horizon for a while. I think there's a few buildings first that we're gonna dispose of before 96 Broadway. I'm betting it won't be before the next 5 years for sure.
Well, then let's move ahead. Let's do it then.
There we go. Okay, we all agree to that? Everybody good with that? Okay, great. Okay, this one should be good too. 7.3. Alex, Marina Playground for donation proposal.
So, we had a user of the facility approach us and they would like to replace the playground at the facility. I mentioned the playground was torn down a couple of years ago. Quite got there yet. However, it's an opportunity for us to essentially at little cost to the municipality, besides a little bit of my time organizing the project and a little bit of staff time preparing the site, have a playground that needs to be replaced. So we're proposing a change of location. I've detailed in the memo why, but it's essentially keep the playground as far away from the roads / the water as we can. We'll still be on municipal property. We believe that it's a pretty good project for us to go ahead and work with the donor on. And that would also come through council essentially with the 2023 budget. We still have to follow our review process for the playground. It will be installed in October. So.
Okay, questions?
Alex, when I looked at your plan, I'm not that good at reading plans, but is that going to cut off, going to Bucks at all?
Sorry, the little pin that's at Bucks Marina is because of Google Marina to get the map, and so that's what popped up. The orange box that's at the proposed playground, that is the location of the playground.
Can you tell me where it is? Where's it at?
It is
Oh, it's there. Okay, I thought it was there. That's fine, thank you.
Questions? I have a couple. What are we gonna discontinue with the Upper Mission playground? Like, it started.
for discussion. There's no direction that we've received from council to discontinue any of that. We continue to work on funding applications for it as they come up. So I would say, no, we would discontinue. And honestly, this allows us to focus a little bit more on the upper playground because it removes the debate about where should we have a playground.
Yeah, well, that's the debate
Right.
into right here.
So if the municipality is funding one, and this one is already being funded by a third party, then we have the staff capacity to inspect two playgrounds.
So what is it that's put that playground there or versus up to permission? From the person that's giving the donation.
They're in Marina View. So they
Okay.
want to see one of them.
Second question is, 25,000 is gonna cover everything?
Not every.
What's gonna be our part?
Our part is going to be the site preparation, which is going to be staff time and staff equipment. So it's an additional cost to the municipality. The location I've chosen is extremely sandy. It's the right type of sandy house and playground in. So I'm not concerned about any huge costs for site prep. It's going to take staff time for
Well,
sure.
the reason I asked is because we always have them in members of staff challenged. And I wonder how you can find time to do a playground.
We typically pick one project at the beginning of the year over the last couple of years. So if you remember, 2 years ago, it was Shaft. The year before that, it was replacing that fourth box float. So we managed to find the time to do one project a year at that facility since we've taken more interest in and worked on it. And so this gets integrated into my work.
Okay, next question is, will we encourage more camping down there at the playground? It's a trailer park right now.
Yeah, we have a bylaw that states no camping on municipal property. I don't have the ability to enforce anything on other properties. So those no camping signs and that no camping bylaw were there. We didn't have any trailers on municipal property this year.
And I agree with that, we're not there, but we're gonna put it across the road. All those kids from their side, line across the road
Right.
to the camp playground, whereas in the upper mission, they park on the outside of the playground, and everybody goes from the playground into the playground.
Right.
It's two different things. I still don't believe it's best. Person, that's what the council. Go ahead there, Counselor.
Even in the upper mission, the kids have to walk on the road to get up there. They have to cross roads to get up there. So I find that coming down to the lower mission, it's the same thing.
That's a good point, yeah.
You still got to go across roads.
Go ahead,
And
Counselor.
we have a person that's willing to build it. And it's not going to cost, like Alex says, the municipality that much money.
Well, and I think that's the key, Kathy, is that the person who is wishing to donate the money for this playground isn't offering to build a playground in the upper mission. He's offering to build a playground at the marina. So that's where the benefactor wishes to place the playground. So so I think that the sites you selected is an excellent site, Alex. It's nice and empty there. I think it's an excellent opportunity to free up some capital where you were probably planning on putting using funds for the playground at the marina to install new equipment in the upper mission, because that needs some attention as well. And then because we have a lot of kids in the mission now. So
Okay, go ahead.
Who's going to be putting the playground in?
It would be a third-party contractor.
No, I think it's, we need to ask these questions, but go ahead, Counselor.
The playground down there, Alex, was that geared to the fishermen coming in to help them out with their kids?
I can't really speak to why it was originally installed. What I've been told by residents is they appreciate a playground there so that their kids can play while they're loading, unloading, doing both things that children tend to get in the way of. Why it was put there exactly versus, I couldn't tell you, I'm sorry.
Okay, but just here to say that the trailers are not allowed on municipal property, but there's trailers not, but they gotta have a place for the kids.
Right.
So, no, there's one been there all the time, not even.
Yeah, okay, from what I hear, they got their blessing to put the park in the arena. Everybody agree? Good. Okay. Let's move on to 7.4. Memo to waive policy number MM001 arena ice rallies.
All right.
Let's see, thank you.
Okay, so essentially we had a request from the Sudbury Nickel Caps, which is a U18 AAA team, to play 2 exhibition games in Wawa between themselves and Thunder Bay, and Wawa is the natural middle ground for that. They were looking for those games at 6 p.m. on September the 24th, and then at 10:30 a.m. on September the 25th. The policy says the ice surface has to be ready for the Monday in September, which is the 26th. So they were looking for ice, day and a half, let's call it 2 days earlier than our policy states. I believe that if I turn the ice plant on about a day before, and everything goes well, which I always say at the start of every year, that we'll be able to accommodate that request. I gave some estimated costs in there, so I'd like everybody to know, and I typically say this when I do this cost estimation. This is based on a spreadsheet that I've created using compressor run times, propane hours, things like that, that are direct building deliverables, as well as some larger estimations based on capital costs of compressor run times and equipment run times, and things like that. So Manuela actually gave me a little bit of help. I've got some updated numbers. So I put an estimate in there of about $2,500, including staff time, capital cost estimates. That is the larger picture cost. Obviously, the municipality already pays for staff time and things like that. Manuela gave me some dollars per day numbers for September of 2020 and September of 2021, and they're averaging out to about $300 per day. So the additional day of compressor runtime, $300 to $400, you put capital costs on top of that, and I overestimated in this memo, again, based on a spreadsheet full of generalizations. So obviously we're generating revenue for the two games. We wouldn't just let ice sit there if it was ready, so we'd be reaching out to all of the user groups to say, hey, we've got a whole bunch of ice here, come and use it, please. We think that it would be a great way to start the season in terms of a couple of things, economic development of having these two groups here. We've had these requests as part of COVID as well, and I talked about this at council last year, having groups from the Sioux come up from Thunder Bay, come down and have Wawa is that meeting point is something that in terms of revenue generation, we really want to encourage because we get to charge these folks the non-resident rates for ice, which is about 25% higher if I remember correctly. So there's a couple positive reasons to do this in terms of revenue generation, as well as we don't believe that it's as a significant cost to incur relative to the community benefit.
Any questions?
I like the idea.
Councilors? Go ahead.
I love the,
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kathy.
sorry.
So Alex, from what I'm hearing from you, and thank you for your detailed explanation, much more detailed than your memo. So what I'm hearing from you is that we might be in the net positive, or at least close to it.
I don't know if I'd venture that far to say that at the facility, because we typically are not in the net positive at the arena.
No, the expenses versus the revenues coming in for the rentals.
Yeah, it would be,
300 per day.
yeah, compared to the hydro expenses, yes, we need a net positive, absolutely. The whole facility expenses, no, but the hydro expenses, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so it's definitely a worthwhile venture.
I believe so, absolutely.
Okay, so that's how you came to your recommendation that you approve this.
Yeah, the other reason I'm coming to it as well is I tell council every year, I request 14 days to prepare ice, knowing that that gives me a couple of days of buffer time for when things out of our control happen. So if we have a couple 30-degree days in September, which has happened before, we can't make ice, the dehumidifiers can't keep up, we get fog in the arena, we get drips, all of those things take time. So I program buffer days because it's really important for us to be able to deliver when we say we're going to deliver. So I know I'm using up a couple of those days, but there's some years where everything goes well, where we're ready ahead of time, in which case we do open it up to other user groups to have ice with us. So because the request was so close to the actual opening day, like it's not like they were asking for 2 weeks before and it was going to be a really significant difference for us. The couple of days before, we believe we can manage safely by turning on the plant just 1 day before. So the extra expenses are not massive compared to some other requests like summer ice or hockey camps or things that have happened in the past.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you very much.
Who's going to advertise this?
They will, we likely will as well. Typically piggyback off whatever advertising they have. They've offered to local user groups to take the silver collection and go work through some of that. So we expect it to be too.
Any other questions? Yes, you got our blessing, Alex.
Thank you.
There will be a resolution on the regular meeting tonight.
Okay, 7.5. Council remuneration. Did you want to talk to this one?
Yeah, I brought this up a few months ago, but I never came back to council. But what I'm looking for here is that the new council coming in, I wonder, they're on a rate of like anywhere from $100 to $200 a month, whatever council decides for the new council coming in, not this council. So right now, there's no increase in the 12 years I've been here. So I'm looking for something from council or directions if it's possible for the council. Give them some incentive to do the work here.
So I can speak briefly to that. We've included a copy of the policy on council remuneration in your packages. And in that policy, every year we review the cost of living allowance, just very similar to what the union and staff receive. Council receives a cost of living allowance. This year, because of inflation, it will be more than what it's typically been in previous years. But then I've also included, I've written on this one, but there's a little chart and it just gives a breakdown of us compared to the communities around us. So if you look at Wawa, the typical remuneration for a council right now is $7,742 approximately. Duberville is $5,588. Horn Plain, $4,380. White River, $4,200. The only one that's more is Marathon at $12,419. But we should take into consideration the fact that they have that big gold mine within their municipal boundaries that contribute to their tax base and the revenues coming into that municipality. So that allows them the funds with which to do a little bit more. And probably because they have the mine there, they're probably passing some different policies and dealing with things that we're not. So that would explain the difference there. And the same pattern follows with the mayor. So we Wawa 14,845, Duberville considerably less at 6,600, Horn Plain 5,800, White River 5,700, Marathon again is up above us at 26,700 approximately. So hopefully that helps you. Just knowing that we did have high inflation this year is going to bump it up on January 1. And if that inflation continues through 2023, which they're expecting it's going to, there will be another bump up at that point.
Right.
Not gonna be here.
Well, it's actually, the chart you put there is excellent. Because I never realized what other communities did, so it really helps them.
Yeah.
Any questions?
The only thing I want to see, Mr. Tweed, is, I love being on committees, but I'm on a lot of committees. And I want council, this whoever gets in, just split those committees up a little bit. Some don't have any, some, just that kind of thing. So it does take a longer time. And I don't know.
Expect a new mayor to take care of that. Any questions? Okay. We're gonna move on. We're going camera session. Business arises with closed session done. Next meeting date will be Tuesday, September 20th. Can I get a mover to close this meeting at 7:30? Councilor Chisholm? Give us 5 minutes and we'll move on to the regular council meeting. Welcome. Welcome. Right now. You on live?
Would this go mute?
When you're like,
Go ahead.
you like.
Thank you.
Good evening. We're gonna carry on now with the regular council meeting. We'll call order all the members present, people in the gallery, staff on Zoom. Disclosure of community interest, any? Seeing none, we'll move on. Can we get an approval of agenda?
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, second by Councillor Chason, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, September 6th, 2022 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Motion carried. No delegations or presentations. The fires announcements giving notice, if there's different boards, different committees in the community, it's all there for information.
Community development is about trying to use it. Pardon me? The community development, the CDC, is not September 12th.
I was just confirmed today, so it was after this was published. So
What is the correct date?
they haven't picked one yet because there's no forum.
And go number 6, adoption of minutes, council meeting on August 16th.
Moved by Councillor Chason, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that the following minutes of the meeting of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, August 16th, 2022, as contained on pages 1 to 5, inclusive of the minute book.
All in favor? Motion carried. Number 7 is correspondence, Strong Marriage Billing Act. We'll see that for Ottawa and Toronto, but I imagine eventually we're going to go home to Ottawa, Ontario. It'll help us out eventually. 8, consent agenda.
Moved by Councillor Chason, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that the items listed under the consent agenda, item 8.2 be approved as recommended, and 8.2 is the approval of the early ice.
All in favor? Motion carried. No staff forces time, business rising, none. New business, resolution for refuge collection.
Moved by Councillor Chason, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby accept staff recommendation as contained in staff memo IS Refuge Collection Renewal, and furthermore approve a 2-year extension to the agreement with J. Provo Contracting Limited for the municipal refuge collection in the total amount of $1,584. 401,000. Is that making sense? $401,584. I'll just read the number: $401,584 plus HST from November 1st, 2022 to October 31st, 2023. And then for $4,009, $409,615. This was $68 plus HST from November 1st, 2023 to October 31st, 2024.
All in favor? Oh, you got it? Okay, all in favor? Motion carried. Okay, bylaws. First, second, and third reading.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, second by Councillor Chason, resolved that the following bylaws be introduced, read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3530-22 to confirm the proceedings of council as being held on the 6th day of September 2022.
All in favor? Motion carried. No closed session today. Business arising, no closed session. Okay. Next meeting is Tuesday, September 20th, and this is regular resolution to close the meeting.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Chason, resolved that the meeting close at 7:45 p.m.
All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you, folks.
Okay, no,
Good night, all. Thank you.
Denise showed me one thing.
Night all.